if you're feeling a little hungry and you're not sure why, well, it's built into the system at this point because every Friday at this time we have a little conversation with Monsignor Michael Billian. It's a segment we call Meals with Monsignor. Good morning, Monsignor Billian.
Hi, Monsignor.
Good morning. Good to hear your voice this morning, and good to be with all of our listeners today as we look at a recipe this week.
Great. And before we share that recipe, Monsignor, I want to make this big announcement, and I'm using the word big a lot here, but Annunciation Radio's big old Christmas party is going to be taking place on Tuesday, December the 2nd at Maumee Indoor Theater in Maumee, Ohio. And one of those making a presentation is Monsignor Billian, going to be sharing a recipe with us live on the stage, right?
Well, absolutely. And if your listeners have a suggestion that they would like to see me put together on stage in front of them, they can send it into the station, and we'll I'll try to honor something that's suggested.
I love that idea. All right, we'll share that email address. Best email address for that would be Mr. Finn, ron@artoledo.com. ron@artoledo.com, and we'll sift through those and share those with Monsignor.
Because Ron is so much easier to spell than Dave.
Yeah. ron@artoledo.com. He's good about following up on his emails. So what do you have for us this morning?
I was just going to say that. I'll find out what the results are.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Monsignor Billian knows me too. So good morning and welcome, and we are so glad you're with us, Monsignor Billian, to share a recipe with our listeners this morning.
Well, you just talked a little bit about the scriptures of the day, and I'd like to refer to the gospel today. Jesus talked about, how the demons were drawn out of the person and they might come back and fill you up again later. Well, it's the same thing with food. Once we get all the bad stuff out of us, if we don't fill ourselves up, the bad stuff is just going to move back in and take over our bodies. So we have to have good food, just like we need to have the grace of God to fill up our sinfulness after we're forgiven. We need to have good food to fill up our bodies. So today, we're going to talk about Braciole, Beef Braciole. It's a wonderful kind of classic, hearty Italian dish. It's good as fall moves in, and it gets a little cooler outside to enjoy this wonderful feast. It's easy to make, so it isn't very complicated. You have to really prepare three things. You have to make the little filling, because Braciole is a flattened piece of beef, which you then roll, and you stuff what's inside the roll and cook it rolled. So it's like a roll of beef with stuffing in the middle of it. So when you're going to make this filling that has to go in, it's very simple. With some garlic, some cloves of garlic, some chopped mushrooms, finely chopped mushrooms, some Italian parsley. That's the flat leaf parsley, not the curled up leaf parsley. Some Parmesan cheese, some Italian seasonings, and a little salt and pepper to taste. That's the filling that you use to make this. Then you have to prepare the rolls, which is like boneless top round slices of beef. And you cut them in half, and then a little later I'll tell you we're going to pound them a little bit. We need 12 slices of prosciutto. A nice Italian bread, or beef, or meat to use. A few tablespoons of olive oil. That goes into the roll. So you have the filling, you have the roll, then you have to cook it in a sauce. And the sauce is with dry red wine, some beef broth, some crushed tomatoes, some more garlic, some Italian seasonings, a little all-purpose flour, and a little pinch of sugar. So how do we put all this together? Because putting it together is the important part. You take those cut slices of half beef, and about 12 pieces of it. So a piece of that sliced top rounds cut in half, so you have 12 pieces, and pound each one. You put a nice piece of plastic over it and take all your aggressions out on that meat.
There you go.
And pound that meat.
There you go.
So it gets to about an eighth or a quarter of an inch, and then mix minced the garlic cloves, and we have to mince some of it. We have to slice some of it. And then in the mixing bowl, mix the minced garlic, the parsley, the cheese, the chopped mushrooms, the breadcrumbs, salt and pepper. That makes up the mix that's going to go in there. And then lay a slice of prosciutto on each piece of beef, and add about 2 or 3 tablespoons of that filling. And then roll that beef tight, tucking in the sides, and stick a couple toothpicks in it to keep the roll closed. And then you brown the rolls in olive oil, seam side down first, so it kind of latches together. And remove the rolls, put it on a separate plate when they're browned, and just set it aside. Then you have to deglaze the pot. So that's when you put the wine in the pot, and then let it boil for about 2 or 3 minutes, because you want all the flavors that are on the bottom of the pot to be part of your sauce. And then add the broth, the tomatoes, the sliced garlic now, and the rest of your seasonings. Then after that's all nicely put together, after it's boiled for a couple minutes, put your rolls back into that sauce. But take the toothpicks out now, because you don't need them anymore, because once you've cooked them, the meat will stay together. And then remove the rolls. You have to let it cook for about an hour and a half in there, in the sauce, turning the rolls occasionally. And then remove the rolls, tempt them with foil, and make a paste then with flour and one part of the hot liquid, and stir it into the sauce and simmer until the sauce is thickened a bit. Then if you taste the sauce, remember what's on the recipe on the website, all those are estimations. You might like a little more parsley, or you might like a little more oregano, or you might like a little sugar in it. You can add it. Feel free to do that. You might not like mushrooms, so just leave that out of the mix. So don't be afraid to be flexible with your likes and dislikes when you're doing this recipe. So season the sauce, add a little sugar if needed, and then pour it over the rolls and garnish it with a little parsley. Now, I would suggest serving it with some nice little pasta on the side, but if you would like some creamy polenta, that's also a beautiful way to put the rolls right on top of the creamy polenta, and then sprinkle a little Parmesan cheese on top, and enjoy that great braciole, beef braciole, great Italian hearty meal for yourself.
And you can find that recipe already online, artoledo.com, artoledo.com. Click on the morning offering tab, and as soon as you do that, you'll see Monsignor's recipe, not only for today, but for the past recipes as well. Monsignor, what wine would you suggest served with that particular meal?
Well, if I would serve a red wine, a hearty wine. I would serve perhaps one of the wines from Tuscany, a Sangiovese, or even a Chianti Classico with it. That would be a nice hearty wine to enjoy with this good hearty beef meal.
Sounds good. And we try to take notes while you're doing this, so it's so convenient to have that recipe accessible right there on the website. So, right. that sounds delicious.
It's a good.
Not only your love for food, Monsignor, but where did your ability or your love for cooking food come from? Who was the one who got you started and all that?
Well, I have to tell you, when I was young and growing up in Toledo, Ohio, in St. Anne's Parish, my family lived all on the same street. Every household was a member of our family. So I learned literally from my grandmother and all of her sisters.
Wow.
They all lived on the street, and you'd go from house to house and learn a different lesson. And That's how I really learned to love food and learned to really enjoy preparing it for others.
I absolutely love it. Because most people would just say, well, my grandmother, my mother. No. My grandmother, all of her sisters, so you're getting different recipes from each one. That's a real family celebration each time we get one of these recipes. Thank you, Monsignor. God bless you. Have a great Friday.
You're welcome. And don't forget.
We won't.